Welcome to What's Trending. This is where we take a look at all the stories that have been dominating your social feeds. With me today is Najjar. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lewis, for having me on.
Very excited. Let's jump straight into the first story. Right, the first story, covered it last week, we're covering it again this week. Nancy Guffrey. I mean, the entire world is obsessed with this missing 84-year-old, especially America. It's actually really interesting because I'm seeing a lot of headlines and then I'm speaking to Brits and they're like, who? And I'm like, how do you not know? Like, because America is like, where is this 84-year-old woman? And obviously this is not to be, well, actually, I think one thing to get into this is I think that there is a real love from people for true crime, almost as an entertainment form. And this feels like a true crime thing that's happening in real time. But at the same time, you can't be insensitive because there is a missing 84-year-old and we don't know what's happened to her. But also, there's a family being absolutely traumatized. Like, not only is your mother missing, the entire world is watching, and then you're getting ransom demands that we're not sure if they're real ransom demands because no proof of life has been given. And I don't know whether it's a little bit sick in the sense of it's almost an entertainment form or whether people are genuinely just worried for her and just baffled by this mystery. What is your take on why people are just, especially American audiences, are so interested in this?
The most craziest things seem to happen and they trend from America. I mean, an 84-year-old woman, her daughter, very famous newsreader anchor, and some notes coming in, and you've got the FBI in America, who is one of the highest intelligence services in the world, and they can't seem to track this person down. The reward money has gone up today to $100,000 just for some information. Well, I mean, where is she? How have they not? How have they not found her?
I know.
Intelligence in America. I mean, you know, they find they find everything. Do they not?
Well, I think that there is something in this where over the years, I think we've had a lot of concerns about security and how much we're being watched. And every time you use your card, someone knows about it. Every time you go into a shop, you're on cameras and people saying, look, we're being too monitored here. But you almost think the flip of that is, well, how could anyone ever go missing? Because your phone can ping, your Apple Watch can ping, these Ring doorbells or whatever they are, Forest doorbells have caught things. So I think that there maybe is a thing where a lot of people thought, well, you can't really lose someone these days.
I
Like,
mean, they can
we're
go
all
to
watched.
Venezuela and take the president out. They've got the highest technology in the world.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, if you can go in and grab the leader of a country, you would think you would be able to find an 84-year-old. I guess, you know, I mean, where they are is very remote. It is obviously a little bit different there. I was very shocked that they were able to recover the dual cam footage. And I think that is a bit of a wider point too, because for those that don't know, the door cameras are missing or were destroyed. We're not really sure because this sheriff is a little bit fuzzy with the details. But in any event, they didn't have the cameras. And Nancy Guffrey had not paid the subscription. So from what I understand, if someone rings the doorbell, you'd be able to still see who was there, but you can't go back in time and see who was there, which is obviously the crucial thing when someone's been kidnapped. However, they have been able to recover the images, which then I guess begs the question of everyone is like, well, so these devices we don't think are recording are actually recording all the time and can be accessed if needed, which I think again raises kind of like spying fears of like, my God, all these devices, they really are listening to us or recording us all the time.
All the time. Like my Amazon, when we're just at home, picks up all sorts of things. And when, you know, me and my husband sat there of an evening talking, I then go on my phone, on Instagram, for example, and there's an advert there for what we were just talking about. So they are all listening, they're all watching.
And it seems we get no benefit, right? Like, it's not like, but at least you're all safe because clearly we're not.
Yeah.
What do you think about the evolution I don't know if this is the way you should say it, but the evolution of kidnapping in this AI digital world, because that I think has been one of the other fascinating aspects to this case, is that actually, and I think Susanna Guthrie actually said it herself in one of the videos, is like, we live in a world where images and videos can be faked and even audio. So in the old days, the good old days of kidnapping, like to give proof of life, you used to have the person next to today's newspaper. It's like they're alive, it's clearly today, that's it. Whereas I could Photoshop that, well, not Photoshop, I could put that into ChatGPT now and make a picture of you holding anything I wanted. Even your voice, you're on a podcast now. I would have enough of your voice from this to create a message. And obviously, they don't want like $1 million in a duffel bag left on a park bench. They want it sent to a Bitcoin account. It's all very high tech now, and it's a weird one because, again, it's probably one where I kind of thought we were a bit safer in the modern world, but actually it's made us less safe and harder to crack these things.
Completely, yeah. Like, I mean, we're not safe with AI. Like you just said, there's lots of things that can come out of AI, fake stories, fake images. And now they obviously, like you were saying, like that they want this ransom money sent to a Bitcoin. Do we even know that if she's alive in order for them to send this money to
No, well,
them?
this is one of the big things. They haven't sent proof of life. They've really not sent anything. So that is a worry, because would you pay $6 million for an 84-year-old when you don't even know if she's alive? Like,
No.
but then, it's your mom. So maybe you'd say no expense spared. I mean, I do think it's weird, and this is not a criticism of the family at all. But obviously, Savannah has money. I
Yeah.
did wonder, and I'm sure this is a tactical thing they've been advised on, because I think, as you said at the top of this, the reward money has gone up, but she clearly has money. So if someone were saying to me $6 million and I had her resources, I probably would have in the first day have said $1 million to whoever finds her, because then that can usually turn people on each other that maybe have her and stuff like that. So I was surprised that the family didn't come out and offer an independent reward. They may have been advised not to have done that, but that to me seems like something you would try ahead of paying $6 million to a Bitcoin account that hasn't even given you proof of life.
Yeah.
Because that's also another thing in this world, is now people can really jump on this stuff from anywhere in the world and say, well, I've got her. And
Yeah.
it's like, who knows? You know what I mean? Whereas back in the old days, it'd be like, well, you can't have her because clearly it's someone in this area and this post stamp comes from somewhere else. So
Yeah.
it's actually weird that it's all so much more complicated and so much more harder to solve these days, when you would think with all the technological advancements these things wouldn't happen anymore.
Easy, yeah.
I did just want to get your personal take on the role of the armchair detectives. So a lot of people are getting involved in this case and posting theories, but also screenshot. We got those videos of this guy and the backpack and people are trying to solve it. Do you think that armchair detectives are a good thing or a bad thing? And I say this reflecting upon, do you remember Nicola Bulley in the UK? She was a woman that went missing, and no one could find her. They did find her in the end. But in that sort of, I think maybe it was a week she was missing or something like that. That area was swamped by people, not just law enforcement. There were people that had true crime podcasts that were going down there to look. That I think she was eventually found by a psychic, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if it were me, and this is just my personal thing, if someone I loved was missing, I would probably take the view of, well, throw the whole kitchen sink at it. Psychics in, true crime detectives in. Like, I don't care. Like, go for it. Like, everyone, all hands on deck. Whereas obviously some people are like, no, but these people are getting in the way. They're doing false information. So where do you kind of sit on it?
I think, like, look, back in the days, it was different because the technology wasn't there and social media wasn't there and people could have put their theories out. And I think people clubbed together, wouldn't they? And the person you just said, the missing person, I don't remember that, but Shannon, the young girl that went missing, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Again, there's like other children that went missing and got kidnapped, and communities would gather around and come together and they would all go and they would all, do a search party. Whereas now, yes, people still do that, but I think with technology, there's so many fake theories that are coming out, and it muddies the water. and people
Mm,
get pulled into all different directions.
yeah. No, you're right. It's just a tricky one because I do just think about if I was in that situation, I just as long as it wasn't harming anything in the sense of, because there's been, I'm not going to repeat them here because I don't think it's nice, but there have been theories online about people close to Nancy being involved, and
Mm.
if you've got no evidence for that, like that kind of mud can stick, right? For
Yeah.
years, of the people
Mhm.
always say, "Oh well, we all thought it was the whoever," um, and people's lives are ruined over that, so you've got to be careful.
There are
Before we
some
move off, oh, go on,
No, I was
sorry.
gonna say there are just some real sick people out there as well that
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? And that do say things. I've experienced it myself with my husband, where because our story is quite public and we're out there, and you know coming from the cultures that we do, there are some real
Mm,
sick people that will say things. But I think what we need to remember in all of this is that there is an 84-year-old woman missing
yeah.
who has a pacemaker, who's has ill health. That pacemaker's been turned off, ripped out, whatever they've done. There's a family in grief where their grandmother is missing. And I just think we just need to revert back to that of finding her and getting her home
Mm,
safely.
100%. Well, we wish the family well, and we hope that she's found safe,
Yeah.
and that I'm not covering this story next week. Or hopefully, if we cover this story on the show next week, it's that she's been
Been
found
too
and
long,
she's doing well.
yeah.
Right, let's move on to the next story. Right, so the next story is basically asking, should we ban AI for children? Now, for context here, I do a lot of broadcast work, and twice this week I was asked to go on TV and talk about this topic. So I'm
Okay.
not going to tell you which side I chose because I've been
Mm-hmm.
too busy to even upload the clips to my socials, so I don't even think
Okay.
anyone saw me. But I think it's a broader question here. How much AI should children have access to?
Yeah.
I think there is a wider conversation within that around the chatbots specifically, about children becoming friends with chatbots and talking to chatbots, and maybe not being able to open up to their parents,
That's
and
not
they'd
healthy.
rather talk to the chatbot. Um, where do you stand on it?
Well, that's not healthy, you to be friends with a chat box because they're not real. You're just you're talking to a chat box, and you a chat box will not tell you, um, does not know you, does not understand you, does not know you as a person. So you're talking to this brick wall, and this brick wall is just saying anything back to you. And we know there's been lots of cases where I think it has resulted to young people where they have ended up killing themselves. um, I'm sure there was a story recently because I'm sure I read it somewhere, but it's not healthy at all for a young person to be framed a chatbot because it's not real. Um, but in terms of AI, it is the future. It is technology. It's that something that is being pushed down all of our throats. I do use AI at work when I need to write reports and, I put in what I need and it writes me my whole report out. That is healthy because it's saving me time. It's saving the company money. It's saving the company my time, their time, and then I can move on and do other things. Or homework wise, I would say for children, because a lot of them do use it for homework, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
I mean, I think in that respect, I think it is somewhat, um, good for it to be used. But on the flip side of it, they need to know what they're putting in. They need to know what they're getting out of the chat GPT or AI. They need to understand and read it, and they need to go through the work and edit bits and still take that information in so they can learn and they can understand. I mean, when I grew up, I didn't even have the internet. I'm not going to share my age, but we didn't have any of that. That all came much later on in life. If I did have an AI tool growing up, I think it would have probably helped me um, learn a bit more, only because, my mum came to the UK when she was 5, and my dad came to the UK when he was 16, 17. So, growing up in a Turkish Palestinian household, and I was at school learning science and history and English literature and English language. And, my parents didn't have any of that, at their education through their curriculum. It's very, very different. So I could have had that additional support if
Yeah.
that, do you know what I mean? But there needs to be limitations on AI. I don't think children should have full access to AI if they'd be becoming friends with bots. Um, there should be children and there should be, mixing with
Well,
other children.
sort of agree with everything you're saying on this. My position on it is, to your point, AI is here. It's not going away. You can't pretend it's the 1970s or 80s anymore. As parents, you either need to help them navigate
Yeah.
AI or else. So you need to let them know, look, sometimes AI tells you what you want to hear. Sometimes it's wrong. It's not a real person. Yes, you can use it for X and Y, but don't use it for this.
Mhm.
And help them navigate it. I also think, realistically, I am tired of the human race's approach to tech, which is, look, it can do this, so we can use it. Like, why don't we decide what we want it to do and build that? So, to your point, let's build an AI for children. So they're not using ChatGPT, and
Yeah.
it's an AI that is specifically won't do certain things. It might flag certain things to the parent if is needed. Because I do think, and you touched on it a little bit, I think there is a huge opportunity here for children, and maybe an opportunity to level up all kids in the sense of, if you've got a supercomputer and we've still got children that leave school unable to read and write, like, you could potentially have sort of an AI companion your whole education that actually is clocked by age 7. You know what? You don't do well reading reams and reams of text. Actually, you're much better if I show you a video. And I know your favorite characters are Thomas the Tank and Peppa Pig, so I'm going to show you it as a video. And also to understand, like, you haven't actually learnt this. So what I'll do, I'll give you tailored homework. So we're not all doing the same homework anymore. Actually, I can mark this in real time. It doesn't need to go to your teacher, and I can identify what you need to relearn and what you've got. And actually, I know that you tend to forget things after 6 months. So I'm going to remind you every 6 months, and we're going to do a little quiz. I think there is real potential that you could almost, and they could almost see their scores on everything, can see where they're stronger and see where they're not, and see where they need to revise a little bit more. I think there is a huge potential there, and probably billions in it if you crack the app to do that. I did want to get your take though on the chatbot side. So I think we both agree, like, if you've got no friends and the other person you speak to is a chatbot, that's not healthy.
No.
However, within reason, I do think, and I'm sure you've got something to say on this, not everyone has a loving, supportive family or loving, supporting people around them. And if, for example, you were a 13-year-old that knew you were gay, growing up in a very homophobic family, would having a chatbot there where you could say, look, I'm gay, but I don't know how to tell people, what's the best way to come out, or how should I handle this, when they just don't have the
support network.
support, or even the backbone at the time, although I don't really want to call it backbone, to even tell a teacher or a close friend. Like,
Yeah.
they literally, but they can tell a chatbot because they can delete the history quickly, or it's on a disappearing chat.
Look,
Where do you stand on that?
yeah, in certain circumstances like that, like I can see the benefit of it because it's a young person getting that advice and guidance if they're afraid to call a certain switchboard number, for example, or talk to a teacher or talk to a relative or a parent, and if they've got no network around them. But how do we know, or how does that 13-year-old know what and how to express themselves on that chat box, and that chat box is going to give them a response and a reply back? So they may not, a 13-year-old may not know to put into the chat box, I come from a homophobic family, or I come from a very, my family won't allow me to be gay because I'm Muslim, or I've got the race culture in. There could be more serious things in their own life that AI would not know because they're not giving them the full information. It really could just be, I'm 13 years old, I'm gay, I'm confused, I don't know what to do, and I can't tell my family. And that is it. A 13-year-old would not know the full consequences being a queer Muslim myself and growing up, you know, yes, I had all those questions when I was 13. I was young, I was confused, I was scared, didn't want to come out to my family. What do I do? I can never come out, I can never be gay. But there were much more severe circumstances as I got older, because then I had my whole culture involved, and I had the chances of me being thrown out on the street. I had the chances of me not being accepted by my family. There's so many more things that come with it. So yes, it's a good starting point. It's a good way of maybe finding things out about being gay, about being confused. But I don't think putting into an AI box to ask that bot, how should I come out to my family? Because they may not know the full extent.
Do you think then, from an LGBT perspective, is it on someone like a Stonewall or some other LGBT organization to start putting out prompts? As in, like, if you're going to put it into a chat, like almost educating young people on, if you're going to ask a chatbot about coming out or whatever it might be, this is the prompt you should use and this is what you should factor into it. Or, do we need an LGBT chatbot that is more aligned with stuff like this? Because it's, like we say, this is the future, whether you like it or not. It's really about how we navigate it. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Should we have specific ones for LGBT people?
I mean, look, that's a really interesting question. And I would say yes. I didn't even think of it that way, to be honest with you. So having these conversations is putting more things out onto the table. Well, how do we do it? What do we do? How do we get more organizations involved? I mean, there's many, many, many LGBTQ plus organizations out there at the moment. They're growing day by day by day. So I do think that, yes, there should be tailored to the LGBTQ community. There should be a specific one there. And it maybe we have the bot ask questions back to it. Well, what's your race? What's your religion? What would your family, how would your family deal with it? Maybe they, because there are different elements to it.
Do you, just before we wrap up on this one, do you feel like it's better to be a kid now or when you were growing up? Because I
Oh,
feel like everyone looks fondly on their childhood. And in some ways you could argue, well, look, we've got all of this technology now. We know more than we do. We're more aware of the fact that people can be gay or have ADHD and mental health, and those are things. It was better than in the old days where people would say, just go out and play and
yeah.
come back whenever. Or is it actually, it's just you have to grow up so fast now because the tech will do that? Like, where do you stand on the best time to grow up and have a childhood?
I always revert back to my own childhood, because we didn't have technology. I didn't have phones. I was out in the street playing with my friends, my neighbors. I learned social skills. I learned when you was going out to bars and clubs to, meet people, you would have to have that interaction, and learn those skills in life, because we still are people, and we are people on this planet, and a bot is not going to come along and save you. So it's good to have those social aspects and skills. I completely understand where you're coming from in terms of the advance of technology for young people, young kids this day and age. But look, I didn't have any of that, and I think I turned out okay.
No, 100%. I agree. I mean, I think there's goods, I think there's negatives. One of the things that really worries me about growing up these days is the sense of forgiveness and changing and learning. For example, there are people that I know that I went to school with that were homophobic at the time. I don't think they are now.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think that the beauty of childhood and even your early 20s should be making mistakes. And if someone's got you on camera saying something homophobic, or, you put out a tweet or a social media post saying, Farage is the man, but then, 20 years later, you're like, oh, actually, I realized I was 30, or whatever it is. It forces you to be a consistent person, which is like it's not like it's not even the same body because all of the cells have regenerated. I'm totally different to who I was 10 or 15 years ago. And I
Completely.
think now kids are gonna, it just takes one nude picture or whatever that you put out, and it's like that's there forever. And I don't like that because childhood should be a time of making mistakes, of
Yeah,
being a bit
enjoying
weird.
yourself.
And that's not to excuse bad behavior, but I just think it should be dealt with at the time and then you move on. Um, but I do worry for them in the sense of, you just mess up once and that's sort of it. You're a viral hit and no one's going to forget it.
I worry for me, and I'm 45, and there's cameras. I mean, like, it's, like, I think people need to just chill and just know that we do have technology, phones, cameras, pictures, and things are put out there. And I just think people just need to really take a chill pill sometimes in life and just think, you know what, they were 20, they were young, or they were 45 and they were drunk, and we're allowed to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Well, let's move on to the next story. Right, the next story is a love story.
Mm,
So, formerly called American Love Story. So, this
yeah.
is the new Ryan Murphy anthology series, and it's following the story of John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette.
Right.
So, I know a lot of people don't know there. I do. I've watched so many documentaries on them, but it was basically, it's they get married, but he's JFK's son, obviously.
Right.
So, your dad has got a massive legacy. The whole world saw him murdered.
Yeah.
Um, you've grown up in that shadow, and then it's about, there's so many elements to his story of coming to New York, and I think he was running a magazine, trying to, I don't want to say build status, but trying to keep a level of like, well, how do you, when your dad has been so not just famous, but legendary, I guess, like we're never going to forget that.
Kennedy and
Um,
Egg.
yeah, what do you do as a child to follow? And then I think a big part of the story, and obviously it's called Love Story because the relationship is a big one. And I think this is, it's taking place in early 90s. I do think it's going to be a successful show just
Okay.
because of the nostalgia of the 90s and people wanting to see 90s New York. But a big part of the story is obviously the love story and the pressure that is put on these two people and the media scrutiny on these people. And I wanted to kind of talk about it in the sense of, because like full disclosure, neither of us have seen the show because it's coming
Yeah.
out today, but I do think it's an interesting point into how romances are shown today. We obviously still have celebrities that get a little bit of a light shone on them. Um, but you particular are very open about your relationship. And I just wonder, obviously you're not a Kennedy, but
You Kennedy.
but how have you found the pressure of sharing a relationship that I guess some people might have issues with? And how have you guys navigated that?
So, I mean, like our relationship. So I'm queer Muslim, half Turkish, half Palestinian. My husband Adam is Jewish. So a nice little mixture there, a nice little
Hmm.
cocktail. Our cultures are very similar. Food is very similar. Our families are very similar. And it's been a love story that we've made ourselves. And when we got together and the issues and dramas that we had with my family coming out, my mum wasn't so accepting at first, not because of Adam was Jewish, but she just couldn't accept me being gay. But fast forward now, it's been 9 years, we're married. And we got married in 2023. And then obviously October the 7th happened a couple months later, which was, very, very big headlines back to the issues in Palestine and Israel, which then unfolded to 2 years of war, people dying, another genocide, um, you know, and from there, the comments started on our relationship, and we've had some really horrible comments. We've had some really lovely comments, lots of support, but the world definitely picks a side. I would say the Muslim community has had more of an issue with me being gay, with me being Muslim. telling me that I'm not a Muslim, wishing death on me. We've had TikTok videos made of us. It's been pretty horrendous at sometimes. There was a comment actually that I woke up to the other morning because we've recently done a podcast that got released last Friday, and the comment was, "We need to check the Epstein files on these guys."
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I'm just
How
like,
rude to even accuse you of being old enough to be in the Epstein files.
I was like, really? We've been compared. We've had messages saying, thank goodness Charlie Kirk, is that the one that got assassinated? Yeah, thank God Charlie Kirk is dead. He'll be so mad at you.
So a lot there. I guess sort of in the framing of media speculation on a person's relationship, which is obviously what Love Story follows. How do you guys as a couple navigate that of different communities, different takes, different comments?
Yeah.
Does it make you stronger? Does it sometimes cause an argument? Like, how do you navigate it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't respond back to any of the comments because we'll just be responding back forever. And I think a lot of them AI bots as well, which are there. So we don't ever respond back to them. At first, we did get quite upset about the comments, but it's just kind of become everyday life. Whereas now we just go and block and delete and we just block them out. But it does make us that much more louder and stronger, and where we want to continue talking about our story. And it's not about our story, but it's about being part of that within the LGBTQ community, because with us talking and sharing our story and our experiences, it's about helping the younger queer community. Um, if
Well,
that makes
talk to me about that because, from my perspective, you've got religious families, different cultures joining. Feels like you already had a bit of a time of it.
Yes.
So to then go public and deal with the wrath of what the rest of the world thinks,
Yeah.
not to be done lightly. So talk to me about the decision to do that and what led to it.
So it was the wedding venue that wanted to do a story on us because they had done one other one gay marriage before, and that was actually Ryan Clark. But that went down well, so they didn't obviously want to talk about that wedding. So it was Adam and I. We got married in the same wedding venue, and they wanted to write an article on us, and we had said yes. So by the time they came around to do the article, had October the 7th had happened. They then decided that they wanted to go public with it. And we just said to them, if only you could do it within the LGBTQ community, that would be great. Attitude magazine then picked up the story, and they wanted to use it to celebrate 10 years of marriage equality in the UK, which was in 2024. So they did that. That went out public. The story then got picked up. We then got nominated for an Attitude Pride Award in 2024, which we went on to win in that same year.
Well done.
Thank you. And then from there, it's just kind of spiraled, and we've just been doing lots of different podcasts. And obviously, the war was very focused on Palestine, Gaza, what Israel, their retaliation to what happened on the 7th of October. But then that actually gave us the opportunity to actually start educating people that actually the war did not start on the 7th of October in 2023. It actually started 70 odd years ago when the birth of Israel happened in 1948. Prior to that, it was Palestine. So that gave Adam and I an opportunity to start talking about Palestine, about Israel, about Gaza, about how many people have actually been, caught up in the riff of all of this, both and the Israeli side as well. October the 7th was terrible. We don't agree with what happened on that day. It was terrible, but the retaliation of it, doesn't add up in my eyes, and like I've always said, just because I am queer and Muslim and I'm not accepted in the Muslim community to be gay does not mean I'm going to sit back and not speak and defend a genocide.
Well, I think it's one of the issues there's a lot of the people that will say, oh, these gays for Palestine, these queers for Palestine, don't you understand what would go on there? But I always think, and this is obviously a weird thing to compare it to, but just that element. I was always really proud of the bit of the history where the gays helped the miners, even though the miners would have been horribly homophobic, some of them, I'm guessing, but sort of saying, look, we're struggling, but we're going to help other people that are struggling, even if they maybe don't like us.
Yeah.
What has the reaction been to the work that you guys have been doing there? Because it just seems like you keep you're like coming out, that you're marrying different cultures, that you're talking about that. Now it's like I don't know how to say
It,
it, but
it's
it's never an easy path for you, is it?
No, it's been a mixed bag, and this is it, Lewis. It's been a mixed bag where we've had good reaction, bad reaction. We've had death threats. We've had TikTok videos made of us, and it's just like, wow, we are doing something here that is challenging the status quo. It's not allowed. Why isn't it allowed? Like, I am a human person. I can't help that I was born gay. I can't help that I was born into a Muslim family. Adam can't help that he was born gay and into a Jewish family. Like, we are who we are, and we are human beings. So we will keep challenging. We will keep talking, and we will keep doing podcasts. And we've actually got some very exciting news coming out next week, which we cannot. Which we haven't done. But it will all be announced next week. So we've got more things coming and happening, and we are being more and more,
Tell me a little bit about, just to kind of circle back into all the things that you've talked about that we haven't really jumped into. Being Muslim and gay, do you feel that there is enough support from LGBT organizations for those specific issues? And maybe not even just Muslim. So I'm part Jamaican. And
yeah,
at some points, I felt a little bit like these LGBT groups seem more towards sort of like making the case for white Christian
yeah,
families to stop being homophobic. But if it's in the Jamaican community or some other communities, it's almost like there's a bit of resistance. Oh, well, we can't get involved there. We don't be accused of being racist. And it's like, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, if you're not willing to go in and speak to those communities, then you are just serving one type of gay.
yeah.
Where do you sit on that?
I have to agree with you. I think there is more that they can do. There is more that they can put out. Um, I think there's more recognition that needs to be made within the community of the LGBTQ community. Um, we do see a lot of the same faces keep appearing at award shows and, being invited to certain events. And, it's not a color of person, it's not a Muslim queer Muslim, it's not a Jewish queer person, it's the same old faces. And I think that they need to do more to help the communities outside of the Christian element, if that makes sense.
And what would you like to say if I put you in charge of Stonewall for the
Yeah.
next 12 months? Like, what would you do? Is it just about championing Muslim queer voices or Jamaican queer voices or whatever it is? Is it about actually taking a firm stance and being quite firm with communities? Like, what is the line and where? I mean, you've navigated this, right? You've clearly dealt in a Muslim family with being gay. Do you need to be firm and say, this is it or whatever? Or is it actually you've got to be quite diplomatic, but, they'll kind of accept it? Like, what's the
You need,
line you've got to lead?
you need to be diplomatic. Like, you need to understand that I had all the years in me knowing that I was gay, knowing that I was different. When I came out to my mum and my family, you need to give them time, and you need to allow them time to accept you, to accept that there's change happening, to accept. And I think with our cultures as well, it's all about what other people will say. It's all about the
Yeah.
gossip. It's all about, what's the community going to say? What are they going to say? But my family's not religious. We're very, very liberal, my family. But still, my mum was like, oh my God, what are they going to say? I know Adam's mum from a Jewish factor, had the exact same fear of, oh my God, what is the Jewish community going to say? My son is gay. And so I think it's about giving and allowing that person and the family time to accept, to understand, to allow them to be upset, to allow them to be angry, to allow them to be happy, to, so it's about working with them. So if you was to put me in Stonewall for the next 12 months, it's about bringing in people of that culture and of that color, to put down their experiences and to how they can help other queer Muslims, Jews, blacks, Asians, outside of that, because they will not know, they will be scared. And I know, because I was in that position myself. And yeah.
See, I've got more questions on this. So one of the things I would say is, and I think that maybe people that haven't experienced it of being in a bit of a different culture, I mean, maybe they have, maybe that's me being unfair. But what I would say is, one thing that's clear to me is you could be like the campest thing ever. You could literally walk around your family home throwing glitter around, like literally jumping up and down, twerking, wearing a pride flag. Like the family still, it's just not on their radar of things that either could potentially happen, that their son could be gay.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've definitely seen a lot of like, your parents will know, just tell them. And then they do, and it's like, oh my God, like, so how did this happen? It's like,
Hallelujah.
really? Like,
I'm out.
um, what would your advice be then to a young Muslim person that maybe has found this, that is coming out? Because one of the things I've always said, interestingly, from the bisexual side is, A, don't come out until you're ready, and B, I don't think that the community should have this big, you've got to come out thing, because for some people it is downright not
Yeah,
safe.
I agree. It's not. I mean, you need to find your safe network. You need to know when you're ready to come out. You need to be in a safe position. Don't put yourself in a vulnerable position where if you do come out, you're going to find yourself out on the street, because we do know a lot of people do get thrown out because of the non-acceptance. They've got nowhere to go. They've got no network. And then you really do start going down a dark path. And to be honest with you, it doesn't have to be a dark path. It's a celebration of you being you, and that's what you should be looking for, is for that celebration side. So yeah, my advice would be, if you're not in a position to come out to your family, but you might be in a position to come out to your friends, so at least you can live half a life and experience of who you are, and then and build your network. That's what I did. And I did come out to my friends first for a long time. And then, eventually I did come out to my family. My mum was shocked. And I don't know why, because every Christmas I would dance around in high heels to Mariah Carey all the way up for Christmas with ticks
If
and
only there'd been a
around.
clue.
I mean, really, she came home once and found me in my sister's bridesmaid dress when I was like 10 years old. And I was like, I want to be the bridesmaid. Why do I have to wear that suit? I don't want to wear that suit. Like, the clues were there, Mum. You just chose to ignore them.
Right. Well, that is it for this week's What's Trending. Ali, thank you so much for joining
Thanks so
me.
much,
If
Louis.
people want to follow you, find out more about you, where should they go?
So we have a joint Instagram account, me and my husband, which is husbands_Ali_Adam. Yeah, look us up, message us. We get daily messages from lots of different people asking all sorts of questions and advice. And if you do feel a bit stuck, or you just need that support, honestly, feel free to add us, message us. Either Adam or I will get back to you, and we will guide you and try and help you to go in the right direction.
Perfect. And then I'm going to put you on the spot with one
Yes.
last new feature I'm going to do on this podcast, which
Oh,
is, give me one product or service you would recommend people check out.
I I mean I'm gonna have to say Switchboard.
Okay.
I actually used to volunteer at the Switchboard many, many, many years ago, and I think it's a fantastic charity. And the helpline is there for all ages and for everyone, whether you're gay, bi, trans, straight, a parent, a grandparent, a friend. an employee who doesn't know how to handle or talk to a gay person, needs that advice, the switchboard is there, and they will help you and they will guide you. They're wonderful people at the other end of the phone. Don't feel afraid. You will call, you can ask anything you want, and they will listen to you. And I promise you, you will come away feeling that you've actually gained something from that call.
Perfect. Right. Thank you so much.
Subscribe for more content.